Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. This is the round 14 podcast heading into round 15. The buys are over, so we got a few things to talk about. There's some big news just recently over the last 12 hours or so regarding a couple of very highly owned players. So we will go through that shortly. But so Tim English, he is out this week. We're not sure if it's going to be 2 weeks, but we'll get to that. Zach Butters is also said to be 1 to 2 weeks, but we don't really have much clarity on that either. We'll discuss that as well. We'll go through the replacements for both of those guys as well. We'll talk to each other through different situations that people might be in, whether you have English in the ruck line or the forward line. Finish off with some rookies and captains, and then just talk about all those replacements. That'll probably fill up the whole hour that we usually go for. So anyway, let's go around the room, boys. And George, how did you go this week, mate? Tell us a positive and a negative, as we like to start with.
The positive of this weekend, the score was good. One. The long-term prospects of my trade count, not so much. 2,028 this week into 2.5k. So considering where I was at, I want to say round 3 or 4, if 5, happy with that result, but still not exactly where I wanted to be at this point in the year. Trades were Gorn to Marcus, Greg Clark to Jai Cully, just a throwaway rookie, hopefully gets a game at some point. Was going all right in the waffle when I traded him in. I think it was like halftime when I traded him in. And then did McCartan to Sam Doherty. So had the choice, do I cash in Hobbs and get more money in the bank, or do I cash in Greg Clark, but like less money in the bank? And I think I got Hobbs' cover, which is good, who I'm going to need already. Like I knew I'd need him at some point, but I didn't think it'd be within a day. It is a tough decision, but I think made the right decision going for better cover. So Tim English we'll speak about that. So see how we go. But yeah, overall happy with the trades, but 2 left now after Butters. So big trouble. Jackson?
Just quickly, if you went Hobbs, like culled him instead of Clark, how much cash would you have had to get a forward for Butters?
About 80k. That would have got me Sean Darcy.
Okay. We'll see how it goes. Jackson, how'd you go, mate?
So 1980 for me, which is a pretty good score for the week. Overall went up about 4,000 spots during the buys, which is overall like good buy period. I guess that'd be my positive. So sitting about 11.8 thousand at the moment, which is still behind you two, but look, trending in the right direction now. Hopefully get an okay finish. My trades were DeGoey, Hayes, and Durden for Massimo, Teakle, and Laird. And look, Massimo and Laird both did well. Teakle was looking fine until the injury, and I would have loved to have had him for cover this week, but those are the breaks. So, negative. I mean, I guess we could say like the injuries that we're going to go through are negative, but when you're in a situation like me where I maybe have slightly more trades than average or thereabouts, I probably do need some carnage to hurt the teams ahead of me that have overtraded. So I guess it's the kind of the silver lining in it for me. Maybe it's a good thing on the run home rather than a bad thing. What about yourself, Enno? Round us out. How did you go?
Yeah, that last point you made is very true. With more trades this year, people played pretty aggressively, and we might be able to, take some positives from that in the way home, but they're already probably so far ahead it doesn't matter. But 1855 for me, I had 20 playing. Just, 4 of those were Teakle, Rioli, Judson Clark, Massimo. So I had to cop a couple of those scores, and that just put me a bit behind. And I don't have Luke Parker, who went 130, and Doherty. Like, they both went 130. They're probably the 2 premiums that hurt me in that score. Whereas I have other decent premiums. They just didn't have as good a week as those boys. So it's probably where I was down. And then 11k about I am, which I was 13k before the buy. So yeah, it's been successful, but not very successful at all, really. You want to make probably more ground than that over the 3 weeks. I think my first week was just way too poor and put me far too backwards. Then couldn't really make it back up. So anyway, I got in Bond actually as well, which I'll quickly speak about instead of Laird, which turned out to be a good last minute switch because I knew Butters was going to be injured at that point and someone I'm probably going to have to trade. So I sort of went back and got Dacos back in, or kept him, who I actually initially had out. So I'm able to field him at M8 this week, which might help me again. But we'll see. Now the injuries, boys, and the first one we'll probably speak about in order of the second one's Butters, and he's probably more of a talking point as to he's more of a trade, but we'll go through them both and we'll see where we all sit. Tim English, I'm going to put up the incident of when this happened for those watching on YouTube.
Oh no!
And George can speak on Braden Bruce, who he's already. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we had him for 6 weeks, got 250K out of him. He's just copped his third suspension in 7 games or 8 games. He's had a few injuries along the way. It's just been the most just hilarious pick that it's worked for us that got him in, got him out. But he's caused pain on our Supercoach teams, and now he's knocked Tim English's head on the ground. And he had a delayed concussion, so he's going to miss this week. And we don't exactly know for sure if it's going to be the next week as well, because they play on the Thursday next week. And that is exactly the 12th day for the concussion protocol. So what do we think about this one, boys? JD, have you got the clarity yet on what the 12 days is?
Oh, someone was asking, like, if Butters is a roller coaster, then what's Bruce? And I think he is the Tower of Terror, right? That's what he has been this year. We've all been pretty good with when we traded him and when we traded him out. Kind of got max points and max cash without too much pain. Didn't cop the bad score this week, so none of us have to deal with him. But obviously, an issue for many people. It's just a shame that he finally left our sides and he's still causing havoc by taking out English along the way. So sorry. Are we starting with Bruce?
I mean, Bruce, obviously, you got to trade.
Where are we at with the? So English is out for 1, maybe 2. Sounds like it'll be 1, but
yes, that's right. This is the 12-day thing, right? So the concussion protocol is that you've got to miss 12 days. They played on Saturday, and then 12 days is on Thursday, and they play the Thursday night game. So it's not clear to me whether you come out on the 12th day, so the Thursday, and he'd be eligible to play that night, or if he's got to wait 12 days and then he only comes out on the Friday. Haven't actually seen any real discussion about this online either, so I'm not sure if he's missing just 1 or potentially missing 2.
I don't think it matters because he's a hold regardless.
So are you eligible to play on the 12th day? One Twitter user says.
Okay. But he obviously would have to still clear them by then, which you hope he would, but...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we can still say safely out of him, Bruce and Butters, he's the biggest hold and clear, like, top 2 ruck, top 2 forward, wherever he is on your team. I think he's the clear hold of all these, but it does just put people in some different situations if you have him in the ruck line, which George can speak on. I guess now you've got to pretty much either cop a donut or get a ruck. So
with no
tell
money,
us what you're doing. Yeah, with no money.
When I opened Twitter and I saw Tim English out for a week, like just in the back of my mind, you know the song Ave Maria, like the funeral song? That's what I was thinking. That was playing for my team. So I was like, oh my God, like the wheels are falling off. Lower the coffin because we're in big trouble. So it's 1 week. So all it meant that is, or I can either get a forward for 9 weeks or a forward for 8 weeks or a ruckman for 9 weeks. And I ain't copping no donut this week. So we'll speak about options later. But so English, he will be held. I'm not letting go of him. It's just a concussion. Very unlucky. Like, I guess, Bruce, we got in and out at the right time. I think we're pretty lucky to get 5 weeks out of him. But this is what he is. He's just not durable, suspension prone, all that. We know all that. But, it's a bit of a problem. But the interesting thing with Bruce is he is available for round 16. So he's missing round 15. So do you even hold Bruce? Like... Is he just going to do this to you again at some point? I think there's a reasonable chance. So English for me, hold. Bruce is a bit trickier because it just depends on your situation.
So I guess the thing with Bruce, right, is that so you'd have to have cover for him somehow this week. So you'd have to have something like, I don't know, Cameron in your forward line, Teakle on your bench, and then have another ruck like Witts or Darcy sitting alongside Bruce, because then you can actually cover the donut. If you can't cover the donut this week, then it probably just makes sense to trade him.
Oh yeah, so you need like
because a donut, yeah. But if you're not in that situation and you don't have cover, and so Bruce would be a donut, I think like even holding him for 1 week is bad because it's effectively like 2 rookie. It's like the equivalent of missing 2 weeks anyway, because you're missing 2 rookie scores, about 100 points. So I think like if you have Bruce with no cover, he's a trade. If he just misses 1. you could hold, but his break even's now high, and this will probably happen again.
Just
Like
get
he
the
got
hell
punished
out.
he got punished for last time. Potentially, they just said he was
Yeah.
still sick, but like I don't know, it felt like he got punished.
Get out
Did
while
they
you
say?
can.
Did they say how long Flynn was out for? Did you say?
I saw 2 to 3 weeks on Twitter, so
Okay.
he will be back in. It's just we saw everything Bruce is about in the space of 1 hour on Saturday night, like you said. Like
Yeah.
does his ankle, comes back on, knocks Tim English out, and gets it's his 3rd suspension in like 8 games or something. He had one in the preseason, one early, and then another one now, and they're all for the same sort of act where he's trying to throw his weight around, which I guess they love him doing, but he's just going too far repeatedly.
Yeah,
Brooks
Flynn's
is
off.
not.
Flynn's off
Yeah.
the injury list as of. Oh wait, that was last week. Okay,
Yeah.
they need to add him back on.
It was it was on Twitter. Hold on.
Briggs is off the injury list. He was injured for a while there, so maybe
Yeah,
they play him.
updated an
They're
hour
gonna play him.
ago. Flynn quad 2 to 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
And Ryan Angwin, by the way, you got George, did you?
I dipped.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
The last
he's 6
second.
to
I
8.
got very lucky.
Tibia fracture, poor bastard. Yeah,
Poor
all
guy,
these guys that are getting like the first games, it's like a curse at the moment. Really unlucky.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We sort of settled there. I mean, if you have like a English and Bruce both in the ruck line, then I don't know. You just cry because
We got to find a solution. So, how many trades are you willing to go down to fix this? So, for me, I have 2. I feel like I'm screwed. I have cover on each line at the moment, so hopefully I can hold up and maybe cop a few 50-point losses at 1 or 2 week injuries, 3 week injuries. Even I'd even hold at this point. So, how many trades would you go down to? For me, 3 would be the absolute limit. 4, great. I think 4 is a solid enough number. What do you guys think?
3's where I'll be at once my team's done, but that's knowing that I'll probably have to trade Darcy Cameron. So it's going to end up being 2, but like with only maybe 5-6 weeks to go. So I think 3 is the right answer from right now, is the absolute lowest, but some people don't have that luxury. Like if you got to fix it, you got to fix it. Like Bruce got to go, in my opinion. English is the hold, and then Butters. Do you just try and hold Butters if this 1 to 2 week thing is true, which I guess we can get to? He was on radio, Butters, this afternoon saying it's just a grade 2 medial. It's the same as last year, but on the other leg. So it just should be the 1 or 2 weeks. First few days, it felt pretty sore. But once I get back on the bike, it's okay. We saw him come back from this last year, and he was nowhere near the same player that he was for the first half of that year. That's what
This is when later in the year he landed on his knee.
Yeah.
And then he came back after a week. We thought he was going to miss more, and he was not good. He wasn't the same player.
He also had the syndesmosis though to start the year. So like
of course,
you had a couple of things compounding at that point
as well.
Yeah, people do forget how bad that injury was last year, but
yeah.
So I think when it comes to how many trades left would you like to have, right? What did we say? Like an injury roughly every 3 rounds. There's 9 rounds left, is there? So I think anything less than 3 is like danger territory, and even 3 is on the cusp. I think ideally 4 is where you would be, because then you've got a buffer just in case we have like a above average run of injuries. Even though I think most of the players most teams have now are fairly durable for the most part. So I think if you had good cover and like you had 3 trades and Butters was your only injury or English was your only injury, I'd probably just hold them. But like I get the temptation to trade Butters because I'm pretty worried that he'll come back and they'll park him in the forward line, or he won't look as good as before. Any of these things, so I don't know. I'm pretty tempted to trade Butters kind of no matter what, as long as you can get him to a good option.
That's where I sit.
Yeah.
I mean, I have English and him in the forward line, so I'm pretty much forced here. I don't even have the bench cover really to cover them, and I don't really want to field 2 rookies anyway there. So Butters is the one. He's gone.
I've written out a few scenarios here, and I'll just get like your quick, like what you do in those situations. So if you only have one of Butters, English, or Bruce, do you trade or hold for English? You only have English. Do you trade or hold?
No, you don't trade out F1 or F2.
Yeah, okay. I still don't trade him out.
You only have Butters, trade or hold.
Yeah, he's gone.
Gone.
Only
See you later.
have Bruce trade a hold.
He's gone.
Okay, and if you have English plus Butters, what do you do with them? Hold English, trade Butters.
What I'm doing is Butters.
Yep.
Yep.
If you have Butters plus Bruce,
No one will, I don't think people have cover for Bruce.
I think Bruce has to go there,
I don't think you want to
Okay.
cop a 0 there.
and you just wait for more news on Butters, and then
You just get screwed later on in the year by Bruce anyway.
and if you're in the unlucky situation where you have all three, it's hold English, see if you can trade Butters and Bruce. But if you can only trade one, you'd prioritize trading Bruce over Butters.
Yeah, get rookie, get scores on the field.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll
Yep.
talk a little bit about who to go to in a second, but I think that's a good starting spot for how you should be thinking about getting rid of these guys and how many trades are a good amount to have kind of at the end of this.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
like, Butters, a 1 or 2 week injury is generally a hold. But I think we're worried about, is he going to be back to his best when he comes
Yep.
back after this injury, where he didn't last year? I know he had other things compounding, as you said before, JD, but for me, I don't want to pick the spiral downwards. So I want to get out.
And while he was good, he was probably going 120 this game. He was awesome that first
Yeah.
quarter and a bit. He's only 92 average, or was like 92, 93 before that, and then it's like 90 or something now. Whereas English is like 120.
I thought
That's the
Butters was doing. I thought Butters would do 100 for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he was playing very well the last couple of weeks, for
But,
sure.
Yeah,
But English
the
is
whole-
just that step above.
Yeah.
Just quickly as well, like Tim from the Herald Sun posted a couple of polls on Twitter. They've got like 300 votes, which is basically asking English trade a hold. 80% said hold, and then for Butters trade a hold, 71% said trade Butters. So,
Jeez.
wisdom of the crowd is kind of agreeing with us in both those situations.
Okay, cool. Well, then I guess we want to start on the forwards because, as judging off those numbers, a lot more people are looking to trade Butters to a forward anyway. So, and even maybe if the people are trading English, it might be to a forward. But anyway, let's start with the forwards. We've got the top liners here. This is my situation. We've got Bont, Parker, Dunkley, and Cogs. We're assuming most people own at least a few of these. I've got 3, and one of them isn't Parker. He's the one coming in for me because I can afford it. So if you can afford it, these are the 4. If you don't have, we say to get. I know guys will probably be hesitant if they've traded out Cogs to get him back, but after watching him and how he's gone the last 3 weeks, he would be the one to get after anyone below him. You agree there, George?
Yeah. Leon, he's freed from Leon.
Yeah.
Shackles are off.
Bit of these ones. So
No issue getting him back. Like, I understand. We won't go back to trading him. That's the whole scenario, but like he's back. He looks fantastic.
Yeah. Put whatever happens in the last month beside, and I would definitely get him back. And we've got tier 2, so it gets a bit different here. We've got Libber in this tier, Will, Brody, and Treloar. Out of these 3 guys, who would you guys go first here if you didn't own? So, say they had the top 4 above. They've got maybe, I don't know, Darcy Cameron or something, and they've got Butters to go to one of these guys. Who would you encourage here first? Is it Libber, JD, out of these 3 first?
I'm least confident on Brody. Treloar's got the hamstring history, so I guess it is probably Libber of the 3.
Yep. George, where do you sit? Obviously, we're assuming cash isn't too much of a problem because a lot of these guys are 80 to probably more above. Brody is like almost 100k more than Butters, so that probably does hamper people a bit.
I still like Brody of the 3, just on this form all year. Still averaging, what is it, like 105, 107, something like that, 105. Treloar, I don't care about. I know he's been good. He looks fit. Just soft tissue history. So not for me. I think Libber's dribbled. He's been okay the past few years. So I'd probably go Brody, Libber, and then Treloar.
Yep. The tier 3. Now this is a more fun. It's kind of fun side of Supercoach where we all pick the stupid guys that we just can't afford the top liners. We only want to use one trade. We don't have the cash. we did it last year with Shea Bolton and Cole Langford, and how did that go? And this is the way that a few of these could go as well. But
it's similar, yeah. I think it's slightly better this year, though.
Yeah, it does. It does look better. I'll read them out what we've got, and then you guys maybe just pick a couple, because if we speak about all of these, we'll be here for a while. But we've got kind of in order: Jade Gresham, Isaac Heaney, Tim Taranto, Harry Himmelberg, Goldstein, Darcy Cameron, Liam Baker. And then we got the key forwards: Jezza, Tex. We got Connor Rosie, Jed Anderson, Mitch Duncan, and Lipinski. So there's a lot of guys that are all sort of around that 90 mark. But you have to pick a couple here, JD. Who would you go to first?
Well, I'd say we really are in the weeds with these quite hairy picks that we're looking at right here. And if you are in a hairy situation, maybe you should be considering Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, which has recently arrived, and it has oh so much in that package: the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver. You know, that ball deodorant. You guys have been using that. You love that. The Performance Boxer Briefs, travel bag, and so much more. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code FTTV at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use that code FTTV. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Now, in terms of those picks that you're weighing up, I'm probably in this situation where I have to find a cheaper one to fill out my team if I'm going to move Butters on this week. My situation is I'm missing one of those top liners in Bont, who I'd already planned to do McCartan up to Bont this week. So that's trade one. And then trade two is what do I do with Butters? And I've only got about 490K. So I think like that Gresham marks about where I top out. So there's a few interesting picks in here. Like, I think Himmelberg's actually the one that I would love to back in for this tier and just jump on for that ride, but he's a little bit out of my price range. The other ones I like the look of is probably Heaney. He did look a little bit more like early season Heaney in the game we just saw on the weekend. He's not getting any mid-time, but I think that's all right. We're still going to get a 95 to 105 average from Heaney from here if he kind of keeps that up. Gresham, I'm probably going to stay away from just because of the preseason injury concerns, which haven't played out during this year. I'd say the other thing with Gresham is from the quick look at his scoring, he's done much better with Steele out of the side. Steele should be back this week. I think that means he'll fade away a little bit compared to some of the other options. And then the only other one I'm seriously looking at is Tim Taranto, which I know a lot of people won't be considering whatsoever. He is cheap, though. He's obviously coming off a few weeks missed with his back. And I guess what's exciting to see here is what does he do under McVay? We've seen a lot of GWS players kind of bounce back to their best and be put in the right roles. And Tim Taranto is potentially another one that could be saved from the forward line and get a little bit more mid-time through the back end of the year, which would make him, I think, a pick worth considering at least. Now, George will say, JD, you can't go in blind on Tim Taranto, but that's all right. He actually played a game of VFL on the weekend. And in that VFL game, he had 32 touches, 8 marks, 3 tackles for 113 fantasy. So he got through that well and, put up some good numbers. I think that is at least some promising signs and a worth a consideration. So yeah, I guess to wrap that up quickly, and like Goldie, I don't mind, but he's a little bit more expensive as well. So I think the ones I'm most interested in are, like Goldie, Himmelberg, Taranto, and Heaney. And then the others that you mentioned, like Darcy Cameron, no interest because Grundy's coming back. Gresham, not as much interest because Steele's coming back. I'll probably stay away from the key forwards in Jez Cameron, Tex, Hawkins, those types, just because they can be really boom or bust. And generally, more often than not, when these picks are taken to the back end of the year, they just don't work out, especially over 7 or 8 rounds. Like if you're just picking them for 3 rounds at the very end and they got a soft fixture, then whatever. But for that long of a run, just generally, I haven't seen it work too much. And then I think the problem with like Rosie, Anderson, Duncan, Lipinski types is you're only going to get a low 90s out of them. And they all have some other concerns, whether it be durability or role or whatever it may be. So that's my very long but quick answer on the that kind of cheaper bracket of options.
So pretty much those first 3 you're looking at.
Heaney, Taranto, and Himmelberg would be the 3 that I'm most strongly considering. And then, like Goldie as well, I guess I somewhat like as an option to bring it home.
Yep.
Okay, we need to quiz you on some of those really quickly.
Ooh, okay.
So just quickly, I think Goldstein, a few North supporters in our Discord are going Goldstein. Obviously, they're trying to get some sort of joy out of watching North, but hopefully that works out.
That's like what is it? Drawing blood from stone.
Pretty
He's
much.
been playing well, but they've obviously shifted the ruck time much more towards him the last like 5 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
Is that continue for the last 5 to 6 weeks or even more? Like, do they want to go back to Cherry as the season gets old and the games sort of just get less important? Not that they've been too much important for them, but they want to get Cherry more into that ruck time like they were early in this season. I don't know.
Looking at the CBAs earlier in the year before Cherry went down, I think was a foot issue. I can't remember exactly. Just on the eye test, looking at the CBAs, I think it was about 60-40 to Cherry in his favor, and that has flipped the last 3 weeks. It's about 65-35.
Yep.
I'd
say that the other thing as well is with all these rucks going down, for any of the remaining rucks, it's easier for them to score, presumably because they're taking on worse opposition. And North Run home is pretty nice when it comes to difficulty, strength of schedule. I think they've only got a few teams in the top 8, and they play a lot of they play Adelaide twice. They've got Essendon still, Hawks, those types. So there's a lot of nice matchups in there that could see Goldie score a fair bit in wins. Or at least closer games.
So I want to ask you 2 questions on Himmelberg and Timmy. So Himmelberg, no Flynn, no Bruce. They threw him in the ruck in the 4th quarter and forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about this.
Are you concerned about that?
Block that out. Yeah, I'm a little
Davis
bit
too.
concerned. Phil Davis
Played
is coming back.
VFL,
Yeah, he did.
So
He's
in an interview this week, what they did with Himmelberg, it's funny, they put the headline as Harry Himmelberg, GWS forward, and the interview was him about playing defense. But yeah, he said he was more of a halfback than a key position, which is good. We saw the plenty of marks,
Good
rebounding
role, yeah.
still. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried. I think going forward, they want him back there, and they're going to use him back there when they can. But this week, you can see in them, unless they make Briggs solo or something. So
yeah,
I'm a little concerned about that. And then Tim Taranto, are you not worried that they could play him forward for the year?
So even when they were playing him forward through the first part of the year, he was still getting 50, 60% CBAs. And I just don't think he was playing particularly well.
Okay.
So even if that's the role they put him back to, it was still a 50% CBA role.
He was scoring okay at a position earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. And I think I don't know, because they've got Callan Ward taking CBAs again. And I think that could be taken up or should be taken up by Hopper or Taranto.
Callum was just sort of when people are out, he's the next, first man in to fill in the role. But once they're in, he can go play elsewhere.
Yeah, and they've got Tanner Bruin going through the CBAs as well. Do you really want Bruin over?
Mind you, he's played well, hasn't he?
He's been okay.
He's been okay. He has been okay. It just feels like the motto of Spike has been play players in their best position. And Taranto is definitely a better midfielder, at least coming up to the ball more. And I think they would probably prioritize that over Ward or Bruin. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. It is a little bit of a risk. I'm not going to lie. But I think, if we saw his early season form again, especially with GWS getting more wins on the board, you're looking at low 90s at worst, which is around the same price as range some of these others. But you have upside into the 105, 110 range if he gets a better role and GWS are playing well.
Cool. All right, I'm going to ask you 2 boys to get on the Supercoach website and filter in the forwards and make it 480k max. And we're going to speak about, just because if you've got 3 trades, you don't want to use 2 to get him up to someone good. You've really got to use 1.
Correct.
And let's say for people who have, 10k or less in the bank, they can only go to him or below, or let's say 480 is what I said. Or below, let's go through probably your top 3 options of the lot there. Would we all have Isaac as number 1 of these options?
Isaac is so fun to own when he's on. It's just the timeline with Heaney is the first 5 weeks, number 1 player in the comp, basically. Well, the AFL play ratings on
He was
Twitter.
missing.
Yes. he started to slow down, and his style of play, I don't know if it was coaching. For me, I thought it was just maybe he was just slowing down, a bit of confidence, maybe sore, I don't know. But he was playing more of like a small crumbing forward. He did have a game in there where he actually played midfield against Carlton, where they needed him in there.
He was their best mid that day.
But yeah, the last 2 weeks, even the week before the bye, he was, taking a few marks overhead again. He was slotting, kicking straight. He looked really good. And on the weekend, freshened up. And this is what we were saying. Like, I didn't really want to trade Heaney to English, but I thought we need to get English in because he's clear the way he's going. At the time, it was like 130 average. So, I think for those who held Heaney, completely fine because he's freshened up after the bye. He went 92 post bye last year. Why can't he do that at least again? So he looks great. The role, Heaney scores out of position when he's on. So for me, I like Heaney. He's got the best history this year for preseason and no soft tissue history, although we know with Heaney it's everything else. Heaney would be my number one.
JD, for those who never want to touch Heaney, can't stomach it, who would be the next guy on this list?
I think it's Taranto for me. Like, I think I would take the risk on Taranto. I've kind of talked myself into it a little bit. I think that's where I'd go to. I mean, it could
clearly the best scorer of these.
Yeah. Like, and if I could promise you Taranto was playing midfield this week, you'd take him over Heaney, wouldn't you?
I think so. The back does worry me slightly that it's just like a back flaring up. We was playing through it, right, wasn't he? And it just wasn't getting better, so they had to put him on ice.
Yep.
You'd assume he's okay, but that's obviously something in an injury that you just don't know and can come back at any time.
But I think I would like. I think I like the risk of Taranto.
Yeah. Then it's a bunch of key forwards, and really, only one for me, if we were to throw out a third, if you didn't like those two, would be honestly Connor Rosie. As much maligned of a player he is, Butters is probably not going to be playing much midfield from here out, you'd see, even after the injury, sort of like he did last year. He's pretty much got the mid-roll mostly locked up. I know it has changed in a couple of random weeks where he just hasn't got as much time, but he was almost 80% CBAs in the weekend, and he does tend to butcher it a bit, but he did get there in the end. But yeah, what do you guys think on Rosie?
I think he plays better than he scores. I don't know.
I like Rosie. I like Rosie's play. He was. I think it was before, like preseason last year. He was on my watch list before he had a bunch of problems. I mean, he's a roller coaster ride, though. I couldn't see myself picking him over the other two. The only other one, and I'll get your take on, is Baker. So he's 5-round averages at over 100, and I think it's the only one over 100 of the list we're talking about.
Yeah.
Actually, by 5-round average, the only one that isn't a key forward or Butters is Rankin. That's next up.
Oh my God.
So Baker, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he about 5 rounds ago is when he moved more behind the ball when Short pushed up to the midfield. Right. So for those that don't watch a lot of Tigers, he was very important for the first half of the year, but was probably playing more in front of the ball. And then his Supercoach scoring's kind of picked up since moving behind the ball, where he's just able to get his hands on the pill a bit more. Is that right?
I mean, last year he started back and then went forward in the last few, like 6 weeks, and then played well. He plays well anywhere. He's the type of guy that
really good player to watch.
Every team wishes they had, and we wish we probably had for him, but unfortunately there's only one. But that's the thing. It can change game to game. If he goes forward, you don't always guaranteed points up forward, are you? It's just more of a harder position. But he went up forward against Port 2 weeks ago and changed the game and was unbelievable in that fourth quarter. Last week, he pretty much played defense the whole game. It's just too much chopping and changing for me to be like, to go onto it, but it is a tasty pick. Like, hopefully someone we can maybe pick in the future, but I wouldn't go there, I don't think. He's still probably developing his midfield game as well. Like, at some point, does he go in there? He has at very small stages gone in there, but I don't think there's anywhere he can't play, but it's just too much. These players we've said in the past, like your Houstons and all them that jump around the place, it's hard to maintain scoring and consistency. So,
there's two other forwards that we haven't touched on that I'm just going to bring up just so we can put the line through. Dustin Martin.
He's probably the one I'd go over Baker, but yeah, no, just not too much going on with Dusty.
What about Jordan De Goey, Mr. Barley?
I don't think so.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
And then there's one like kind of left field one. Hasn't had a good year so far, been riddled with injuries, but came home strong last year in Jake Stringer.
What was his role on the weekend or on the Friday night?
So he was starting, I mean, he's still mainly forward, but he was starting to get a little bit more midfield time. So I think he had something like 37% CBAs after having like just the one CBA the week before. So I'm guessing as he builds his fitness base, he's going to start to get a few more rotations through there. Scored a 98, but he's like 368K for the year. So this is like super discount option.
Yeah. You'd have to have big naris to do that, wouldn't you?
Okay.
Look, he went on a nuts run last year, but yeah.
Yeah, he's got West Coast this week, so it could feel very good for 1 week and then hurt for 8 more. But okay, that's good. Like, just good to cover those off because I know we'll get questions about them if we don't bring them up.
I mean, look, Duncan's there. George is going to shoot him down, but if you want to take a risk there on a 30-plus-year-old that is playing behind the ball, mostly it's another option too. But yeah,
no recent soft tissue injuries, please.
Yeah,
none of them.
Especially when you're going probably down to like 3 trades. It just
honestly,
you want more durable players.
Anyone else, George, that you're looking at?
I mean,
pick about?
This is the fun part where you can pick the player you really want to pick. If you like, I'm a fan of Lipinski. I know he's a very boring, nothing but safe, durable, low 90s pick. He's just had a really difficult fixture. He's played Melbourne, Carlton, Brisbane, not Brisbane, Fremantle, Dogs. He's had a really, really difficult fixture. So I'd assume that it opens up a little bit without looking at it, given they've played all them. So if you're looking for safe, durable, boring, like low upside, maybe, I don't think that's the spend to go, but regardless, Lipinski doesn't need CBAs. Even though his role's not super great and the CBAs are down, he's still half forward, pushing into stoppage a fair bit. Lately, probably spending a bit more time forwardish, but he covers the ground like almost, I reckon, top 10 in the league the way he covers the ground. So he's always able to find the ball.
Just on Lipinski, he hears footsteps coming because Matthew Rao is only 17 points behind him now. And there, George. Rao has gone back-to-back 120s. I don't know where this was when he was in our teams, but I'll tell you what, he's heating up. He's got a 3-round average of 107. He's coming home strong.
That is closer than I thought. Yeah.
You are right, though, George. Giants, Gold Coast, they're not too bad, middle-of-the-pack teams, but then North, Adelaide, Essendon in the next 3 after that. So Collingwood do have a pretty decent run. I mean, side note, they do have a chance to, I guess, push for finals with that sort of fixture, but we'll see. It does finish off tough the last month, though. All right, that was a lot on the forwards. As George said before, just a tick ago, it's the fun part. Pick who you like the most. Obviously, there's probably a few risks or a lot of risks with pretty much one of these guys that you're sort of going Butters price or below. If you can grab one of those top liners, obviously you do it. If it's going to take you 2 trades and you're going to get, I'll ask you boys just lastly, if it's going to take you 2 trades and you want to use 2 to get Butters up to a primo, what trades you want to be left with a full team? Is it 3, like we said before?
I think
3
at
worst.
I think it's 4.
Yeah, 4's probably safer, yeah.
If you're doing 2 trades and going to 3, I'd rather just do 1 and have 4.
You reckon? So from 5, you'd just do 1?
Well, because the other thing is, unless you're getting, I don't know, Bontempelli or something like that, right? You're going to have, say you could use a luxury trade on, Butters up to, I don't know, Liver this week, or you could be doing, I don't know, say Short to Stewart next week, or, getting Steele into your midfield. I'd rather have one of those 2 if I'm throwing away a luxury trade than getting Liver.
Than a forward, yeah.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be doing it there. I wouldn't be using a trade there.
Can we touch on Jed Anderson before we move on?
No, let's speak on them all.
Of course.
No, go on.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, it's an anti-vaxxer. Of course.
Don't go there. That's for Discord private chat. Anyway, Jed Anderson, CBAs in 2020, he scored really well. So I think I don't have the totals here, but last 5 or 6, 72, 68, 75, about mid 70s for the in 2020, but that has dropped this year to, I want to say, around in the 40s as I just bring it up. Anderson's CBA's last 4, 46, 52, 42, 38. So they've dropped. They're not what they used to be. I think he has the high ceiling of a lot. Have you entertained Anderson at all, JD?
He's more of a fantasy pick for mine than a Supercoach pick. I think even when he was hot last year, he didn't really translate that into Supercoach points. I know it was 2020 that was his best year, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Went 104.
Yeah, but that was like boosted by like a few peak games. And I think it was pretty average outside of that.
Yeah.
But like in 2020 in fantasy, he had the highest points per minute of any player in the comp, which is why like they've continued to love him over in that format, even though I don't think he's ever really translated here. So no, I don't like him as much as Heaney or Taranto.
I think his roles is like these 140, 5 scores over 140.
Yeah, but you got to remember 2020 was like
4. Yeah.
In 2020, you had some weird scaling in some of those games. It just saw you get some like ceilings that you wouldn't otherwise see.
Fair enough. I think it is an option. It's a bit of durability risk in there, like a preseason too.
Yep.
So, yeah, I thought I'd mention him.
No, it's worth a mention, but I probably wouldn't.
All right, and then we'll speak about Jordan's situation here when he's got English in the ruck line. And he has an option of going all those forwards, but instead he's opting for the big O in the ruck, swinging English down into the forward line. Part of a plan to have cover as well, but of course the prices just don't sort of work as well, where like Big O is pretty much the only one around sort of Butters price that is any good, whereas the rest are sort of north of that. So let's speak on a few. We've got 6, 7 names here. We got Sean Darcy, if you can afford him, I think is a logical move if you want like a ruckman and then have English's cover later on. Nank is there. Goldie, as we spoke about with the forwards. Blitzarves, who got ruck status at one of the junctions, and he's got defender ruck status. Big O, who George is most likely going. Roll Marshall, who I just think looks injured and isn't going as great as he has in previous years. And then Luke Jackson, who a few might be looking at a bit of a discount price, who will pretty much get solo ruck time for about a month. So where do you want to start, George? What's the plan for people if they want to go a ruckman instead of sort of a forward or whatever situation they might be in?
I think if you can use 2 trades, you get big old Shrek easily. And Nank's been good too. I think Darcy ceiling is just very appealing. And I think he'll benefit more than others from the week off as well. I think Taberner should be back. So should help. So in 2 trades, for me, I'd go to Darcy. I know the durability risk doesn't seem to have long-term injuries. Seems to have all these short niggles, and you never know with injuries. But with only 9 rounds left, and I suppose you have English covering.
Yeah,
I would not go.
You get an English into the forward line.
I wouldn't go him without English cover.
Yep.
And even Nank's durability is not crash hot either, and he's rocking with Soldo.
Well, not recently. Not recently.
Oh, really? I swear they played like 2 games ago with Soldo.
Yeah. When I say recently, I mean last week.
Okay. I want to check the CBA. Okay, he didn't play.
He got dropped for
okay. So yeah, he was still scoring well with Soto in the team though. It's interesting. And it was about a 65-35 split roughly. Interesting. So I don't mind Nank. I mean, his form's been good. But yeah, I'd go in 2 trades to one of those 2, whoever you like. The other options, Goldie, as we spoke about before, like what are the North doing for the rest of the season? Not sure. Even though he's quite old as well, so you never know. They could tail off. But he just hasn't the past few years.
Solid.
And then Blitzarves, well, Segler is 1 week away. Is he best 22? I'm not sure. Blitzarves' fantasy scores dropped off the past 3 weeks, I want to say, to what it was when he was rucking more. now Stanley's back in the team. I haven't really monitored Blitzarves enough, but the CBAs have dropped off a cliff the past few weeks. So
Yeah, it's just he's playing defense. I
Yeah.
think, with Stanley back. So I think it's a void.
Yep. So then if you don't have money, you're trying to get Butters, because we're holding English, you're trying to get Butters or Bruce to somebody. I think all you've got is Luke Jackson. Or if you've got Bruce, he's speculative still. I know he's getting solo ruck time, but he doesn't really have a strong history of scoring well. A few weeks at the start of the year, he's still pretty young. There's been a few samples here and there where he's solid rucked, and he hasn't really scored that well. So, I mean, he looked great at the start of the year and in the final series, especially the grand final. But I guess if it's all you can get to from Bruce in one trade, I think I'd even go down to 2 just to get a proper ruckman rather than go Jackson. He's got Gorn coming back anyway.
That's the thing.
So I think
he only gets
if
a month
you're-
of this. So
Yeah, so I don't really see the point, but I can see if you've got like no trades virtually, and then you need to go get someone in one. I think it's Priest or Jackson, but that's not a good spot.
or you've
That's
got
not
like
where you
6
wanna
or
be.
7, and you're like okay to take the risk, knowing that you'll have to trade him back out. I guess.
Yeah.
Is the other thing.
Oh, even then, I'd still go up. I think.
Yeah, if you got those trades, then you probably would. You'd just use 2, but maybe if you're dealing with Butters too, I don't know.
Yeah. So that leaves basically 2 players: Rowan Marshall and Oscar McInerney. Not sure if I'm missing anyone, but Rowan's cooked. He's not playing well. I read St Kilda Big Footy Board on him. They're all saying he's got to be injured. So I believe that. And he just doesn't look as good. So, and probably feels like he's more forward, and their riders taking a bigger ruck share without looking at the CBAs, just on watching the games. So that leaves Big O. So I'm pretty much backed into a corner here. I will be trading in Oscar McInerney. Now, I wouldn't trade him in unless you don't have to.
No,
but
you can stop the sentence there. I wouldn't trade him in. Yep, but no, keep going.
Thanks for that. Thanks. A good synergy between us there. I'm trading him in because, okay, Fort is no longer best 22 unless one of their injury-prone forwards get injured in Danaher, McStay, or Hipwood.
Who
I'm not
have
sure
all
if Hipwood's
been
I'm not
injured
su-
within the past
Yes.
4
I
months.
mean, so Hipwood outside the ACL hasn't been injury prone.
Yeah, so I should give him credit there. Yeah.
Danaher's been fine since the OP. Like, he hasn't
Been
really had any.
facetious.
Yeah.
And then McStay, I didn't even think he was injury prone until he had
He's
the
missed a
issue
few
this
games
year.
here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a bit harsh there, but not the perfect durability anyway.
Yeah.
And then thank you to DR who left a bit of an essay on Big O for me on my YouTube review. And he was saying that they can use McStay down back, which could open up a slot for Fort forward.
I think he said if like Andrews goes down, which again is like
Okay.
a rare thing, but possible.
But put it this way, it's a bit like Jacob Ware a few weeks ago. I went early on Ware knowing it was a risk, but sometimes you got to make a play like that and hope it works out. And it worked out. It got me out of Bruce. So if I didn't get out of Bruce, well, I would have been in this position, a much, much, much worse position. But it's a bit like that. I have to take a chance here, and hopefully that with the ruck duties, he was solo ruck for the most part. I think Fort was subbed on, and he only scored like a 70 or 80 odd, not super well. I can't remember.
But he
But
played
it was
2
against the most restricting combo, I believe, in Ryder and Marshall. And then the week before it was also against Big Shrek. But his 5-run average is 100. And we know that he started slow last year, although this year was against he had Fort in the team. But when you look at his preseason, he had a great preseason. He was saying he wants to be the best ruckman in the competition. Later in the preseason, he goes, I wish we could have 5 ruckmen in the team. I'm happy to share the load. I'll play the role for the team. But now I think their best setup is Oscar taking most of the ruck, McStay relieving, and they can't really drop any of their key forwards like McStay, Danaher, Hipwood, and Big O. You can't drop them forward. So Fort's a bit stiff to be there. So I have to hope it works out. And he's gone 86 with Fort in the team. So I'm hoping that's his floor. And it was about 110, 115 post-buy last year.
Yeah.
And look, it's a bit of a bet, but if you guys have a better idea, let me know. I
So-
can't, I'm not willing to go down to one trade because I just think it's too risky with 9 weeks
It's
to
not
go.
even like an option that just stands out that you would do it for anyway in the ruck. I guess Shrek's the one, but it's
Yeah.
not that beneficial to put yourself to one trade to get Shrek, who he himself could make you be using
Mhm.
that one trade the next week. So, no, I think he's under 500k in the ruck line. There really isn't anyone else. I mean, Jared Witz is now under 600k, but yeah, he's not someone you'd even want. And then there's no one else. Like,
And
there's no one.
yeah. And at this point, I just want a warm body, just about, and don't completely tank your average. And Big O's I think he rolled his ankle, and then he got suspended this year, so he's barely missed a game. I think he's missed 2 games in 3 years, I want to say. So, probably the more durable one of the entire lot. So maybe along with Goldie. So, but can't get to Goldie. So that's my pick. Welcome Big O. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Before you go, JD, there's two highest trade-ins are Bont, and the second is Luke Jackson already this week.
Yeah, I was just going to apologize actually to all our listeners because normally we don't dedicate 10 minutes to hear George rationalize a bad pick, but the guy's hurting this week, and so we just thought we'd give him the platform really to have at it and really talk some Big O, wax lyrical. But please don't get baited into following him. But no, I think of the Ruck options, he is the best one. Brisbane Lions injury list, by the way, I think it's only Kai Lohman that they've got left. Zorko should get up from his hamstring, and then it's all good. So they do have the full range of players available. I think it's exactly as you said. As long as Fort doesn't play, McInerney should be a good option from here on home. It's just that Fort hasn't done anything to get dropped. It's just Brisbane have a full injury, they have a full list of players, and so he's the one that unfortunately misses out. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that worries me. That the first chance they can to get him in, they might. But yeah, no. All right, so
can I just quickly finish? I need to finish the Big O explanation just really quickly. There's 2 things I noticed that his disposals are overall down on last year. Maybe that increases with Big O. I'm not sure. With Ford out, I don't know. And something else, I forgot. I'll get back to you.
I think it should, because Fort was taking a lot of hit outs when he was playing. He's been something like 35-40% CBAs.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This week the CBAs did not change with Fort at the team, although he was subbed on late, and Fort did take a 19% CBAs.
14%, anyway. But who's counting?
Okay, so it was 19. My bad.
Sorry. So, Anna, you were asking about Bont, and
I'm just saying Luke Jackson is the second highest traded in premium.
Right.
Premium. He's 380k, but not rookie. So interesting. A lot of people are going down that route. I guess that's a lot of Bruce owners, sort of with no cash.
So a couple of things on this pick. So one, you get to save a bit of money up front, which is pretty handy, because if you then do have to make other injury trades, you've got some cash in bank later on, which is nice. But I think the problem is Gawn is only 2 to 4 weeks away from the syndesmosis injury, and then once he's back, Luke Jackson's gone back to his old role, and what's he averaging, 70 or something, 80 at the moment? So is it worth getting a cheap option that might score better as a solo ruck? We don't even know that he will. We don't have a big sample size or anything to see him score well in that role. He's not a great hit out to advantage or tap ruck. He's much more around the ground type. So are we going to see him have an English style breakout for 2 to 4 games and then him go back to 80s? Maybe you get a 85 to 90 average of him from here on out, which isn't the worst at 380k if you need the cash. It's just I don't think this pick works. I think it fails more often than it succeeds. I don't love the Luke Jackson pick. I feel like it's a little bit of desperation. And then on the Bont side, I think of all the forwards, if you are trading out Butters and you don't have Bont, then that's the obvious one to go to. That's where I'd be looking as well. So no problems with that.
Yep. Quickly, we should maybe pay respect to a lot of people don't like Shrek, and I understand George is kind of one of them, and I totally get it. No.
Durability, and that's it.
That's what I mean. And if you're going down to 2-3 trades, you might want a guy that isn't as prone to stuff like that. Riley O'Brien, he's not. 10k cheaper than Darcy. How's
That
he look to
pains-
you, George?
It
in the
pains
last-
George to hear, Rob, because he wants
Well, it
Strawn
was
or
only
whatever
3
it
weeks
is
ago.
to
He went
play.
No,
170.
that's not.
What's his name? Your backup?
Strawn or something? I don't know.
Strawn, yeah.
Strawn.
It was only 3 weeks ago. He dropped the 170 on Geelong. But he
it was
just
only
hasn't
5
turned up
weeks
enough.
ago. He got dropped.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's my only worry. Like, I'm not too sure. Like, he's been better since he came back, but is he going to hold a spot for the rest of the year? I think he will, but there's always a chance that he doesn't.
Yep.
But I think Rob's definitely better than backup Ruck.
I mean, so like his next few matches, by the way, so North. So that's against Goldie and Cherry, which is like a decent ruck duo, but like you'd think there'd be some points on offer there. Then Melbourne, which will be presumably Luke Jackson solo rucking. Then you've got Hawks, Collingwood, and then Sydney, whoever's rucking for them. Probably Hickey back by that point. So I don't know. That's like a pretty nice run for him at least. And then after that, still has West Coast and North on the run home as well as Port to finish it out. So there's a lot of nice soft matchups for Rob, which I don't mind. I'd be entertaining him.
Yep.
If you
I'd go up to Darcy.
Or you
Yeah.
already had Darcy, maybe, and you don't have cash for Wits. That might be a situation. So you didn't have Wits, right? You had Darcy already, and
Yeah.
Darcy and Bruce or something. Yeah. Interesting. All right. There's not a hell of a lot left to speak on. We've covered every possible play there is on both those lines. I mean, we're assuming at this point most people's defenses are finished and they probably only need a mid or something, but I've got to delay my last mid due to Zachy Butters. So I guess we'll speak more on those lines next week. Once, most people are finishing their teams or already have finished, we'll maybe do some rankings and whatnot.
I feel like we should
next week.
I feel like we should do the rankings for the forwards and rucks this week just because we've gone over it so much.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
for rucks, I'd have Wits and Darcy as 1 and 2. Any disagreements?
There's no one else to choose from
Wits looked
that line.
Wits looked bad on the weekend. He couldn't get off the ground.
But would you put like Nank, Rob,
Okay,
or Big O ahead of him, or even Goldie?
Probably just Big O. No,
Okay, Big O. All right.
I don't know. I think you got to back. I suppose you got to back in Wits and Darcy from here.
Yeah,
I guess
like
Nank's third or something because that's
you're probably not having Wits go 115 from here. But I think even if he regresses and goes like 105 to 110, that's probably still top 2 ruck from here.
That's 95. I'll take that.
Yeah, okay. And then so in the forwards, I think we'd all have Tim English 1 still once he comes back from concussion. Bontempelli, Dunkley, Parker, Cogs as the top 5.
Yeah.
We'd probably have like Bailey Smith in there as number 6 once he returns, but that's a ways off. So who would you guys put in at 6? Is it Brody? Is it Libba? Is it Treloar? Is it someone else?
I think it's Brody and Libba, like neck and neck, and I'll probably say Brody until I see like a roll shift or something. I think that game before the bye, he just was his poorest game in a while. So I think that's just an outlier. He should be okay, I would say, coming back after the bye. So I'd have him just ahead of Libba. Like it's more, as George was saying, it's more secure role. He's like much higher in the pecking order than Libba is, although Libba does get a bit, but you just don't know with the Dogs. So I'll have him just ahead of Libba, but it's probably out of those two.
Yeah, I'll say Brody too. I think he's scored like 82, something like that, and disposal efficiency was in the 50s.
Yeah.
So I still got Brody's 105. Libba was low 100s, probably low 100s again this year. So I'll back Brody in.
Libba's a 103 at the moment, but that includes the 56 he had round 1 after he was coming back from COVID. So, and like I think they played him forward with no mid time for the first couple of games. So I think that weighs him down a touch. So I will back in Libba from here. I think I'll say like I'm going to continue to death ride Brody. I think Fife back does affect him even if he continues to have CBAs in mid minutes. It's just another option, another mouth feed in the midfield that pulls rank over Brody. It's going to hurt him a little bit. They can't have both Brody and Fife not doing defensive stuff in the midfield. So I think that will hurt Brody scoring, even if he continues to get similar opportunity. And then Libba, we've seen him scoring well with Baz, without Baz, but he should get some benefit while Baz is out and then finish home strong. I think like the Dogs are starting to click a little bit as well. So maybe them winning a few more games in the run home compared to what they had in the first half helps him too. So, yeah, but I don't mind it. I mean, a lot of people already have Brody, so they're probably not picking between these two. But yeah, I'd slightly back in Libba.
It will be interesting when Tabernan's back to see what they do. I had Logue sort of filling that role. I assume he goes back. Is there much need for Fife as forward as he was that sort of first game? I don't know. It's just sort of hard. Not enough of a sample size to see what they're going to do with that situation. But I think JL knows what Brody is.
Up front.
Brody's bench or is in the centre bounce, and then that's it. Like he literally comes on and he's in the centre, and that's it. And then if he's not on, he's on the bench. Like if he's not in the midfield, he's on the bench. So I think he's been too good to sort of not continue that, but we'll see. Maybe there's a form dip. He has been up for so long. Like, let's be real. He's played unbelievably well. So can he keep that up for a full AFL season? We'll see. Rookies. I mean, there's a few that we're going to have to go to with these. People are making 2 trades. I'm one of those. So I'll need some assistance here on who to get. Obviously line dependent, but the old defender rookies, boys. We were looking for them for so long. And now they've decided to pop up when we need them least. And that's Massimo D'Ambrosio, who, look, I did get last week. Some people probably, or a lot did get him last week, sort of just for a 1 week on-field play, but then hopefully as cover for the rest of the season for me. But Paddy Parnell as well, George, who has played really well in the 2 games he's played pre and post bye. So, look, if you had to pick one this week, I think we're all in agreement. It's just take the 20K with D'Ambrosio, because it will probably help you in the future. But if you could go Parnell...
Like, if they were your only playing rookie on defense and you didn't need the 20K this week, I could see people picking Parnell over Ambrosio. But,
yeah,
like, both are good options.
Has he solidified his job security? Or speak to both of you boys, I guess. George, Parnell probably in the team for a while.
Yeah, I think he will be.
What would Johnny say?
Sorry, say that again?
What would John Ralph say? Not playing Sample for a while?
Very long time. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think Parnell, he played good. I think Crows youth just constantly rotating. They don't know who's best 22 or not, but Chase Jones been in and out. I think Brown's out, and I think he stayed out. So, yeah, I think Parnell will keep playing. I'd be shocked if he's dropped in the near future. I think he should keep playing. Showed a bit. He's like, Chase Jones cannot accumulate to save his life, unfortunately. And Parnell did it in 1 game. So I think he just keeps holding. I'd be confident
Will Hamill's playing too, so I think he might even...
5 disposals from Hamill.
Yeah.
We need more from him.
Kicked a good goal, but didn't do anything else. And D'Ambrosio, JD, what do you think?
So yes, he was. I thought he was very good for the first game. Did a lot of good defensive stuff. Also showed a bit of flair coming off halfback as well. So for Essendon, there's probably a few that are ready to come back this week in Parrish, Langford, and Snelling. Now, none of those are defenders, and we've got McGrath coming out of the side. So I think he's most likely to hold. But the only thing is, like, when McGrath comes back, we will have actually cut a lot of the fat out of the side. So is it Ambrosio that goes over, like, some of the others that'll be, like, around that best 22 mark, like Durham, for example, or a Hind or something like that. Hind was very good this week.
Both of those have been playing well, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the problem. So I think Parnell probably has the slightly better job security. That's what I was saying. Like, if you need them as you're playing D7 for the year for here, I think Parnell's done more to secure his job than Ambrosio. But I would like to see Ambrosio get more games. So it kind of just depends what happens over the coming weeks. But yeah, I'd have Parnell more likely to be ahead. The only other defender option I guess we could talk about is Cleary, right? Who's an outside chance to return for the Dogs this week with Duray picking up that injury. But yeah, like Crozier could be ahead of him. So it's a little bit like Crozier's been racking up in the VFL, but I guess it depends on whether they're looking more for a defender or a accumulator to replace him.
Yep, Sam Durden unfortunately got injured, and there's Rhett Bazzo actually who played for West Coast. I don't even know what he looks like, and I watched that whole game. So look, he scored 40, but I think he's a key defender, isn't he, George? So you wouldn't really want to go there anyway.
Oh, there's actually one other option as well in Rory Thompson, who should be back for Gold Coast this week. But he's already had one small price rise and is up to 141K. So I think, once again, I'd probably have him below some of these other options.
Yep. Now, as far as forwards and mids, they're really, to this point, that we know of is Judson Clark, who, I mean, again, we don't know if he's still going to hold his spot, but I think he's done enough to still play in the short term, but he might be one that does eventually pop back out of the team. Dusty is coming back. I guess you'd like to know if he's coming out, that it's probably this week before you do go in, but Maurice played super well, like in the quarter that he came on, or, not even a full quarter, I don't think it was, as sub. He was awesome. So, don't know if we can play both of those guys. Yeah, I think they're probably both ahead of Castagna now, so he's not a threat. But who comes out? Like Lambert's back playing.
Yeah,
Dusty's
he played
back this
pretty
week.
good too.
So, I don't know if there's room for both.
I think the
Just
problem is
go back to Maurice.
Clark's gone missing in the fourth quarter, like 2 games in a row, which is pretty worrying.
Yeah, I think Maurice's pressure is a lot better than his, but his skill and forward craft is a lot better than Maurice's. So
I mean, if Clark gets dropped, I'm pretty sure I'm copping a 0 this week. So he's got to play. Got to play.
He's really the only one we know of mid forward. So
what? Sorry, George.
25 points you won't get back.
Well, 40. He's averaging 54. So that's.
Might get a 40, but
give Judson a break. But yeah, he still take the 40, 50 or whatever you get. But
yeah,
no, I should give him credit. He was really good first game.
Yeah, playing Geelong though, it's not a terribly easy matchup. But yeah, if there any others you guys know of in the mid forward that might be coming in, I probably have to get one that I don't know of. So hoping on Cully.
I mean, we've been talking about him for a little while, but Elijah Hollins, this could be the week that he gets called up, maybe.
At this point, I just want him for next year. What's the point?
Yeah, don't play him, Dewey.
Well, I think Cully had 90 fantasy in the VFL. Carmichael was on the bye, but in his first outing, he had 22 touches or something, 10 tackles, something like that.
And he's already been dominating the SANFL, hasn't he, that kid?
The problem is, Collingwood don't have anyone to go out. Collingwood are playing well.
And they're playing well, yeah.
So, yeah, Carmichael's 22, Cully's 19. So, Carmichael better scorer, but I think less likely to come in.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go Cully.
Sitsas. I can't pronounce his name. No, it's Cheetahs, I think. From
that's right.
Gold Coast. Yeah. He put up a 21 disposal game like Hollins, I think, on the weekend. So still there around about, but I don't know if they've got anyone in the midfield coming out that he'd replace. And then I think it was Will Hayes for Carlton, had a near 30 touch game. But once again, I'm not sure who's coming out of Carlton side for him. So, yeah, I think it's probably unlikely we get debutants down there, but there might be some of these names that pop up.
One I just remembered is Charlie Dean. If you didn't, for whatever reason, like Massimo, he's not named, and Charlie Dean is named this week, then he's someone you can go to stick at 102k, because you think if he's in the team, they're a guy they want to play, or he's a guy that they want to play. So we'll see. But as we said, Collingwood are playing well, so it just purely depends on their structure and who they want to play back there. So I feel like that's it, boys. There's no one else to talk about it. Rookies, I mean, we'll find out Friday. We'll speak about it then. Who's named it, whatnot. Finish it off with the captains. This is a tough week. There's a lot of good players. I mean, we're back off the buys. That always makes it easy. You got your full selection of players. What's your early thoughts there?
Neil, you go first.
Me?
No.
Anna?
No. Okay, I'll go first. Neil into McRae for me. What are you thinking, JD?
I'm feeling like this podcast is a simulation, and I've pretty much had enough of it. I was looking at McRae into Laird this week, I think.
Yeah, I was looking into Darcy VC into Laird, but since I can't get Laird, I probably can't do that. So I strongly advise against the C on don't do the C on these random players. No, not random, but just not trustworthy guys like defenders and Sean. If you're gonna resort to a captain, please don't do it on people like that. I mean, each to their own. But
so, who was it? I think it's Spices from our Discord who's got the highest captain average of any of us. I think
my entire Supercoach, he's number one, I think.
No,
he's fourth. No, he's fourth in the entire.
Well, of the top 5,000, the Hall of Fame touched on Supercoach Shadow. So like, I'm doing well. I think my captain average is over 140 or about 140 for the year, right? Which is good score. He's higher than that again. And basically all he's done every week is some combination of like McRae, Miller, Oliver, and Neil. So he's just kept it really simple. Like they're basically the only vice captain or captain options you see out of him every week. There's nothing exotic in his picks, and that's worked for him. So yeah, I think there's something to be taken from that. So I could imagine people going like Oliver, Neil, Miller, McRae, Laird, and Nils. They're like the 120 plus mids, and as long as you stick with those, you should be all right for your captaincy. Even Miller, I like don't trust. I'm probably the one that I wouldn't ever put a captain on. And given Oliver and Neil the first game and McRae's the second, unless you're going, getting your vice captain out of the way early, I think you're looking at either Mills against Saints or Laird against North for captains. And Mills a bit hard to trust given they keep putting behind the ball anytime Swans concede a couple of quick goals.
So you're 136, JD. I'm 130, and George is 124 average for the year.
There you go.
Not happy. Not good.
It's not a massive amount of points, 6 per game over 14. It's 100 points, I guess, George.
That's a lot.
Between me and you, and then
That's
another 100
big.
between me and JD. It is
That's the
something.
difference between top 3K and top 2K.
Yeah.
Great, not that it matters, but
I guess Brody makes up for it, George.
don't do that.
We'll
who
speak
else?
more about on the
Never
rookies
mind.
and the captains come Friday, as things always do change from a Monday night. So
Just
Thanks
quickly,
for
out of you
watching.
guys, before you, if you were to pick out of only Neil and Oliver on the Thursday or Friday, I can't remember, because they play each other, Neil or Oliver, you can't say neither. I'm taking Neil because no Gorn for clarity, but I don't know.
I was just about to say Neil. Yeah.
The big O bias is actually insane. What is this?
That did not occur to me.
I mean, all of a sudden, like, Neil's going to be the Globetrotter because I think these are both pretty scuffed options. So I think the only thing that's been holding Neil's scorings back has been like the occasional run with roll, but Melbourne don't really have anyone that they like using for a run with roll. So I think it's probably Neil. Oliver, they might actually send like a Berry to or someone like that to stand next to him. So yeah, I think I'd probably go Neil as well if I had to.
Yeah, I'd say Neil and then McRae sort of as your backup, which looks a good matchup against the Hawthorn. So anyway, let's wrap it up, boys. We'll speak about those sorts of things on Friday. As I said, things always change, not just with us, but everyone who plays these sorts of games, and information that will come to us for teams and whatnot. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Friday for the Teams and Trades video.